Hello, 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 Carol. Welcome, welcome. How you doing? Hi, Carol. How you doing? I even managed to put a little backdrop there for us. You there?
Yes, sorry,
I
I was
can't
on
hear
mute.
your audio. That's the other thing.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we're
sorry,
good.
I was on mute. Okay, all good to
We're
go.
looking good. Yeah, fantastic. We're here nice and early, and that's great. I've just been working my own slides. Look at this. I'm always trying to innovate, but I've kind of like got 5 slides, but I'm just going to do these all in Zoom. Anyway, I'm ready to go.
Okay,
But you're up.
I've just been having a quick last minute look through my slides, and I think I'm all ready to go.
Yeah, good.
So,
We're good. And we got all that information out nice and early. That's just great. Yeah, I've just put it in as a blind copy.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Thank you. And the people I know, I just dropped them a quick email last night and said, "Oh, see you're coming. That's great. Look forward to seeing you there." I thought, if they know if they know they're expected, they're more likely to show up. So
yeah, exactly. And we've had some really nice touches on social media. I think we're going to do pretty well. We're actually up to 25. So even if we get half, yeah. There's a few last minute from that LinkedIn today. So so I think we're going good. I think the only challenge is going to be time. If I just didn't, I should have. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll be fine. I think it's nice to give people a taste, give them value, taste, and then feedback, and then you leave them wanting more. That's when you drop the links in, and then they get online, and I can do it for you probably, but just in case, have yours ready, and you drop them in the chat box right at the end of your talk.
What, the Calendly link?
Yeah, you drop it into the chat box when you're getting close to finish. And I will prompt people, sign up with Carol, here's some more fantastic tips. That's a wonderful bridge. She's in the UK, and and just jump on now. And then people they'll do it. They'll go, and I'll do the same sort of towards the end of mine. And then I think it's just like that. It's
excellent.
I mean, what else can I offer? I did the 8 a.m. Pitch session, getting people involved.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, she was great. In fact, it was nice.
Really good, isn't she? Well, I did the one that she runs, which is 6:15 Melbourne time, PM. So you did one of her morning ones. Okay.
Yeah, I did one of them. Yeah, no, and I liked how she was saying, involve or get them to imagine, or get them. And you do this really well, by the way, because I've seen you pitch. But you basically draw people in, and then you leave them wanting more, and then they set up the consultant time. That should be the objective, because if you get people on, I've been on these where you can get 6 or 7, and that's pretty nice because it fills out your week. But
look, that's my absolute objective, is to get some people wanting to have a one-on-one with me afterwards. Look, if I can get that, I'll be happy, and if you can get that, I'll be happier. So really good.
Fantastic, all good. And they're really, the way that we're doing this is it's really warm because people know us already. So So there's a lot we can do afterwards too. I've already put 3, I think, through to encourage them to make time with you. But I'll keep doing that in this next week. It depends what comes up and who's on the call. Plus, I'm recording this already, so I can cut this into a nice 1-hour segment, and then we can do that. I mean, look, once we start, I can just take all this out. We're recording us now, but it's fine. And we take that out, and then that can go out in another day or 2, and then with the Calendly links, and then you've got another chance then too.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, look, I'm learning a lot about. I sort of already picked up from you. When I did that webinar with you earlier, I thought that's what I should be doing. Just a regular, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever. Just a regular webinar, and it just becomes part of your
routine. That once you get down pat, it's easy, and you've already done the pitching. So you could do this. We've got Costa already in the waiting room. He's an entrepreneur. He's a branding guy. So why don't we? What if you're ready to go? If you don't need to do.
I'm ready to go. I was going to make myself a quick cup of tea, but if I can, that's two.
You can do that if you like. And
I'll
just
just
start
quickly
welcoming people.
Just bored. I'm just going to make a
we'll just do
tea
it
and I'll
nice
be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. I'll just personally start welcoming people. That's all good. You just went into like the ether. It was quite.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
It is. It was quite actually worked quite well. Okay, I'm going to start just as people arrive, and then we can just have a general chat before we get going.
Yes, it's very strange. It gives you an idea of how far away the background goes.
Yeah, that's right. Hello, Costa. How are you?
Greetings, people. How are you going?
Yeah, good.
Hello,
look at that fluid background. I love it already. Yeah, of course. The Con has an iconic image. Con, do you know Carol?
No, we haven't met.
No.
Oh, that's all good. That's good to meet. Have you both on the call. Of course, Carol's going to speak in first. But Con, you are probably one of the preeminent entrepreneur branding people in Melbourne. How's life down there?
Well, we're out of lockdown. Yay!
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm back in.
Oh, you're back. Yeah, you're in England, Carol.
I'm in London. Yeah.
London, yes, yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, so the numbers are just horrendous.
Now, my husband's still in Melbourne at the moment, and they're just wrapped.
Yeah, we're finally out. We can go and eat at a cafe, which I did on Sunday.
Oh, how lovely!
Travel more than 5Ks, up to 25Ks, and meet some more people. But the thing is, I can actually now shoot legally, which I wasn't able to.
Yeah, that would be a big thing,
ago.
wouldn't it?
So, in terms of photography, I can actually do it now. So now we're starting to book photo shoots. At the same time, we're building the branding part of the business, the online branding, which I call Brandfluence, which is of like, oh, okay, I need to copyright this name since I got the URLs, but that's not going to give me copyright.
No,
that's right. It's actually a trademark, but that's going to be the nice distinction in all of this.
Yes.
Because you probably deal with a lot of what Carol does with his copywriting, but we're going to get into the protection side in the second half. Also, welcoming Trish. Hi, Trish. If you feel like it, Trish, your mic and
I'll be back in 1 second.
Great to say hello to you too.
Hey, Trish.
People coming in, Trish.
Excuse me 1 second.
Oh, hi, Trish. How are you doing? Yeah, no, Carol, no problems.
Very well, thank you. I'm just at the library, though.
It's all good. We're calling this the ashes of IP and copyright today, since we've got it's England early morning there. It's like 7 a.m. there. It's 6 o'clock in Melbourne, and I'm in Darwin, so I'm actually coming up from behind to the to chase the sunset with you today. But how are you, Trish? Where are you from?
Very well, thank you. I'm on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland.
Oh, what time is it there?
Nearly 5.
Oh, okay. There you go. You're half an hour ahead. Geez, we've got all time zones covered today then. That's great. I don't think we get enough recognition here in Australia for that. We actually lead the day in for the rest of the world,
Agreed.
Excellent. What's your business, Trish?
I do a little bit of copywriting for finance companies.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, well, you and Carol will be speaking the same language, definitely. I mean, I guess everyone seems to be a copywriter for their own business now, would you say? But you do the specialist, yeah?
Yeah, very niche.
Yeah, very niche for finance.
Sorry, Trish, I missed. What's your special? I heard copywriter,
Trish,
but what's
your
specialist? What's your name?
I do writing for finance companies.
Oh, okay. All right. I primarily do technology companies. I mean, I do a bit of everything, but I primarily do technology companies. So we probably should have a chat afterwards, because if I've got finance is not my specialist area. So if I come across any finance stuff, it'd be great to know somebody specialist to pass that on to.
That'd be lovely, Carol. Thank you.
Yes. And you're in Melbourne, Tricia?
Sunshine Coast in Queensland.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of time zones here.
Yeah,
Gareth.
That's what we were just saying. Yeah, like we've already got 4, and 4.
We've already got 4 time zones. Yes, for 4 of us. So
that's right. You're having your breakfast cup of tea,
I'm just,
and we're.
my cup of tea disappeared. My invisible cup of tea here.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, just Trish, just so you know, Con's a branding specialist, content creator, and a personal brand specialist. So that's a nice combination at this stage. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes. It's obviously we're about 5 minutes out, I reckon. So we're all good.
How many reservations have you had?
We've had pretty good. We've had like 24, 25. So it is an odd time though, like it's right at the end of the day in Melbourne and to get the start of the day in Britain. So we'll just see how we go. But either way,
We've
it's
got at
nice
least
to have a small
one
group.
person from the UK, so possibly more. But yeah, it's difficult at the moment because Melbourne and London are 11 hours apart. A couple of months ago, we were only 9 hours apart. But then since Melbourne's gone to daylight savings and we've gone back into winter time, it is a bit harder. But anyway,
The only way we could squeeze it in, isn't it? But look, it's good. It's good to experiment with the formats. Usually.
And look, I'm used to this.
Right on the time in my experience.
Most of my work is still with Australian clients. I only moved here less than 2 months ago, so I'm used to the early morning Zoom calls and the late night Zoom calls and what have you. So yeah. How have you found your business affected by the pandemic, Tricia? Have people continue to need your services?
Yeah, so I still have a couple of clients that I write for weekly, and then I've got a graphic designer friend, and anytime he's doing a website and he needs, something written, he just flicks it over to me. So I've done a travel brochure for a company that does sailing tours through the Kimberleys. I've done a do-it-yourself methamphetamine testing kit for landlords. So they, interesting one. And the other one that I did was for a small campground here on the coast. So, little bits and pieces, but yeah.
Oh, that's good. Kimberley's.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm up in Darwin, so I'm sort of like
on
really
the way.
interested seeing what's happening there. Oh, they're all coming in now, so we might just start. I'll let them in just 1 minute. I'll let them gather and we'll go in. We'll just start officially. How about that?
Sure. Yes, because we're fairly...
And I'll you get your... Oh, yeah, I'll share with you, Carol. I'm just going to share the co-hosting with you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
So you'll be able to... I'm actually going to make you host. So that means if I go at the end of this, you'll be host, you can stay on. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, lovely.
So you're the host now, so you can share screen whenever you're ready up after you've done your own little intro. Okay, we've got people coming in, so I'm just let's start officially and people can join in after us. Oh, where's all the invites?
Now, do I have to let them in if I'm now the host?
You've got to let them in. Would you mind letting them in?
People entered the waiting room. Yes, okay.
Yeah, just keep an eye on it too, Carol.
Yes, okay, that's fine. That's Michelle and Pauline.
Hello, welcome, Michelle. Welcome, Pauline. If you feel like saying hello, hello, Michelle. Nice to have you on the call.
Hi,
hello,
Michelle.
Michelle.
Nice to meet you. Hey, Carol. How are you?
Pauline.
Yeah, very good, thank you. How are you? Michelle and I have known each other for a long time, Gareth. Michelle is a business coach.
Oh, wonderful. Hi.
And
nice
Pauline
to meet
and
you.
I have also known each other for a long time. Hello, Pauline. How lovely to see you. Pauline runs a sports administration business.
Wonderful. That's great. Oh, look at all the different specialists we've got in the room. It's great. Well, if you feel like it, Carol, why don't we kick off now and as people come.
Now I'm just wondering. Oh, here we are. Some more. There's one more person in the waiting room.
One more?
Now I'm going to present and be watching the waiting room as well. This is Paul just coming in.
Oh yeah.
Hello, Paul.
Sorry to do that to you. It's
no, that's okay.
If you can co-host, that's fine.
And
I should be able to do it.
I'm going to share my screen with my slides, and we'll make a start.
All right, let's make a start, and I'll just introduce you, Carol, if you like. I mean, we've forgotten done that softly now, but just for the purpose of the recording. Today, warm welcome to everyone. We've got, today we're presenting the ashes of IP and copywriting. It's a great pleasure to introduce a colleague of mine from many, over half a decade ago, where we both were working in different fields, and now have come to the realization that we are building bridges for business owners and entrepreneurs like yourselves in helping their copyright become worldwide IP assets. And to kick that off today, Carol's going to share 7 comprehensive communication tips and many more of the do's and do nots when it comes to copywriting. So over to you, Carol, and it's great to be facilitating with you today.
Thank you, Gareth. It's great to be doing our first event together. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, all looking good.
Excellent, good. Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to sort of every now and then just pause and go and look at whether there is anyone waiting in the waiting room, because I'm trying to present and let people in. Unless you can go back to being a co-host, Gareth.
You'd need to. I'd have to claim host. But I don't know if you'll be able to share screen. Can you share? Can you still share your slides? I'm the host now, so I can keep an eye on it. Yeah.
Excellent. If you can keep an eye on letting people in, that would be great. Thank you. I'm not very good at patting my head and rubbing my tummy at the same time. So, okay. Business communication. Are your customers getting the message? I want to start by saying great businesses start with great ideas. No matter what your business, it started with an idea. And ideas are intellectual property, which is why Gareth and I are doing this webinar together. So great businesses always start with great ideas. But as Lee Iacocca said, you can have brilliant ideas, but if you can't get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere. So the way that those brilliant ideas become a business is through communication. And my name is Carol Benton. As Gareth said, I'm a business communication consultant, and I help people find those words to communicate their great ideas and turn them into a business. And great communication, or effective business communication, does 3 things. It helps people to, or it helps you to connect, that is, find the right audience and get them to engage with you. It helps you to convince them. It helps you to make them believe that you can help them and that you can deliver on the promise that your idea is making. And it helps you convert them. It helps you to convince them to take the next step towards buying from you. So converting might mean getting the final sale, or it might mean getting them to take the next step along the journey to that sale. And good communication really consists of I would have said 2 parts, but of course, since working with Gareth, I'm going to say 3 parts. It's what are we going to say? And that's what I'm going to focus on today. How do you work out what you're going to say? Then there's how are we going to say it? Now, that's not the subject of today's webinar, but very happy to talk to you afterwards about that. There are 10 main forms of business communication. And the third part, which Gareth is going to talk to you about after I've spoken, is how are we going to protect it? Because we've put a lot of time and effort and energy into creating our ideas and to communicating our ideas, and we need to make sure that they are protected. So for today, I'm going to focus on that top one. And Gareth's going to focus on that bottom one. And if you want to talk about the middle one, please do talk to me afterwards. So why do we need a strategy around our message? Why is it important to start with that strategic view? And the reason it's important is because when we're communicating our ideas through our message, we need it to be consistent, clear, and customer focused. And we get that by thinking about it strategically. When I say thinking about it strategically, there are 7 foundations of a clear message, and that's what I'm showing you here. Why you do what you do, who do you help, what problems do you solve, what do you offer, what are your credentials and your differentiators, and what are the benefits of doing business with you? And that's what I'm going to briefly take you through this morning. It'll be at quite a high level because we do want to allow plenty of time for you all to ask questions. But if I start with the first one, why? It's really important when we're communicating with our audience to share why we do what we do. how, what it is that's the passion behind our business. And the reason that this is so important is because of the way in which we make decisions. Now, if I said to you, how many of you make decisions with your head, business decisions? How many of you make decisions with your head, logically and rationally? A lot of you would probably put up your hand. However, research has shown that we actually, even in business, we make decisions with the heart. This is very interesting research, which again, did it showing people pictures of chickens, and it's very interesting research from the University of Texas, and I'd be very happy to share it with you in a session where we've got longer time. But it proved categorically that people make decisions with their heart. Then they go through something called post hoc rationalization, and they rationalize that decision with the head. But it means that we have to connect at an emotional level. The old adage, people by people, and we have to make a connection with somebody at that emotional level. And that's why it's so important to share why we do what we do and the passion behind our business. And if, like me, you've noticed the rise of social enterprises and businesses with a social conscience, you'll see that this in our current era, it's more important than ever that we connect at an emotional level. So it is important to share something of our passion. The next of our 7 foundations is to think about who we're talking to. If you don't know who you're talking to, how can you possibly speak their language? How can you possibly tailor your message to them? And the reason it's so important to figure out who we're talking to before we start communicating is something called the cocktail party effect. Now, the cocktail party effect is a recognized, it's a term used by linguists, and it's a recognized phenomenon. And I'll explain to you what it is. So when you're at a party and there's a lot of background chatter and you can hardly hear even probably the person next to you. And yet somebody over the other side of the room says your name. You hear it, don't you? That sound cuts through the background noise and you hear your name. It's because our brains are programmed to hear messages that are meant for us. Anyone who's had a baby knows that a mother will hear that her own babies cry through a room full of crying babies because we know that message is meant for us. So what that means is if you have a message that says, I help everybody, I do everything. Well, nobody thinks of themselves as everyone. Tricia and I were just speaking before the webinar officially started, and Tricia is a writer who specializes in finance companies. Now, therefore, when she's talking, she's going to use words that are aimed at finance companies that speak their language, and they're going to think, wow, she really knows me and she's talking to me. So it's really important to work out who we're talking to so that they are more likely to hear us. And I know it's counterintuitive. We think, oh yeah, but if I speak to finance companies, what about all those travel companies that are looking for somebody? Well, Tricia's just told me she's been doing some travel brochures for some wonderful sounding trips in the Kimberleys. So actually, it doesn't stop other people engaging with you, but it means the ones who are your real target are going to know you're talking to them, and that message will cut through because of the cocktail party effect. The third thing, aspirations, customer aspirations. What do you do to help your customers? And this is all about understanding their aspirations. Now, if, like me, you've been on any sales training, especially corporate sales training, you were probably taught to look for the problem. And of course, we have to understand our customers' problems if we're going to articulate how we solve them. However, again, take yourself back to a social situation. If you met somebody and their opening line was, hi Paul, hi Michelle, hi Tricia, I can see what your problem is and I can fix it. It's not really very engaging, is it, if you just dive straight in with somebody's problem? So I really like to think about what are our customers' aspirations? What is it they're trying to achieve? And then, of course, the problem is, whatever it is that is stopping that. But it's really important to recognize what they've already done really well or are doing really well, and what they're trying to achieve, what their aspirations are. And if you can show that you understand that, then you are far, far more likely to engage with them. So it's about understanding their aspirations and goals, reflecting on their successes, and then identifying any hurdles that are stopping them continuing that success or reaching the next level in their aspirations. And then, of course, your product, your solution, your service. What is it you do that's going to help them solve that problem? So if they want to get to the top of that wall, how are you going to help them get there? And this is the bit that most people are actually really good at communicating. We're all good at talking about what we do, our product, our service. And so, you know, as I say, this comes very naturally to us. The biggest trap here or pitfall is sometimes is the fact that we know this much about our business. We know everything about what we do. When we're communicating, depending on the format and the time that we have and the amount of space that we have and the number of words that we have, we really only need to tell them what they need to know at that time. So, you know, we might know this much, but we actually only need to tell them this much in a particular format. And it's all about linking back to that problem or that aspiration we identified. So it's about making it really clear, though, exactly how we are going to help them achieve that goal. So if they want to get to the top of that wall, it's about explaining, well, our solution is based on chairs, not steps. How are we going to stack the chairs? How are we going to make sure they're safe? Sorry, how are we going to make sure they're safe in climbing those chairs? It's all about explaining how what we do helps them meet that goal. The next of my 7 foundations for a message is credentials. What is it that makes you good at what you do? Okay, I imagine that none of us are in a unique business. You know, Graham, I can see you there. There are other personal trainers out there. Good morning, Graham. There are other personal trainers out there. There may even be, now you're in a niche, which is great because you focus on people over 50. Fantastic, so you're talking to your audience. However, you're probably not the only personal trainer who focuses on people over 50. So it's not about being unique, and unique is a word that I find people often overuse in communication. It's very hard to prove often, but it's overused. But this is about what makes you good at what you do. So it could be qualifications, it could be certifications, it almost certainly is customer testimonials, but it's really important to be able to explain and to show what makes us good at what we do. The 6th one is differentiators. What makes you stand out? And again, it could be something unique, but a lot of us find it very hard to actually find something that we do that is absolutely unique. But it's about what makes you stand out from the crowd for that customer. So, you know, you might not stand out from the crowd for everybody. For that customer, though, what is it that would make them pick you above the rest of all the other people that do what you do? And finally, the benefits. This is really, really important. And again, it's something that we sometimes forget. And I give a good example, you know, with benefits. I say, if I asked you, what is the benefit of an umbrella? Most of you, and given that most of you are on mute, I won't ask the question now, but most of you would probably say to keep off the rain. And I've sort of led you a little bit with that photo. But what about if you were sitting on this beach, what is the benefit of an umbrella? The benefit changes depending on the person. So it's really important to think about benefits, and when we're communicating our message, be able to articulate those benefits in the eye of the beholder. And benefits, of course, are the opposite of the problem that we described, and it's about being able to meet and reach that aspiration. And don't forget, we tend to think in features, but customers buy benefits. So we think, oh, well, this umbrella is made of, you know, really good fabric, and it's got this great handle. The customer buys the benefit, i.e. it keeps off the sun or it keeps off the rain. And describing benefits is what I call joining the dots. It's the bit we often forget, but it's the bit that really closes the loop and creates the picture for the customer and makes it really, really easy for them to pick you. If you do this with, if you come along this journey with me, if you choose me, I will deliver and you will get X, Y, and Z. So you're joining the dots and making it really easy for them to pick you. So look, that in summary is the those are the 7 foundations of a message. And I just want to come back to what I started with, which was a really good message connects and convinces and converts. And why do these 7 foundations work? They work because they cover all 3 of those bases. So the why and the who and the what problems do you solve, that is where you make your connection. People know you're talking to them and they know you understand their problems, and they get a little bit about you and the passion behind your business to make that emotional connection. So that's how you connect. What you offer and why you're good at what you do and what makes you stand out, that's the bit that convinces them to stick with you and to listen to you, and that you might be able to help them and that they want to engage with you. So that's the bit that does the convincing. And the benefits, that's where you convert them and you get them to take the next step. So I really, my sort of challenge to you is to think about those 7 and think about your own message, whether that's through your website, whether that's through your pitch, whether that's through, brochures, whether it's through articles and blogs that you publish, and think about which of those your message contains. And then, it's not the topic for today, but then it's all about, once you've got that message strategy, it's about getting the message out there through what I call the top 10 of business communication. And when you look at business communication, the way that successful companies communicate, they do most of or all of these 10 things. And they say that's a topic for another time if you'd like to talk about that. So do start with the message, do then look at implementing through those top 10. If you get it right, your message will connect and it will convince and it will convert. And remember that once you've got your message, it's really, really valuable IP and you do need to protect it. So look, that's it from me. I would just say, if you are interested in tips on communication, please do sign up for my newsletter, which you can do at the website there, wordstowin.com.au, or just flick me a message. I send out communication tips every couple of weeks. Please also do, if you'd like to, book a 30-minute consultation with me. I think Gareth is going to put the links, the Calendly link in the chat box. But for now, we do, before we hand over to Gareth, I'm finished bang on time, which I'm very pleased about. So I do have time for, I've got about 10 minutes for some questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen there so I can see you all. So I've got time for some questions if you've got any. Anyone got anything they'd like to ask? No? Fantastic. All right. Well, Michelle. Yes. Hello, Michelle.
Hi. How are you? So, Carol, you've spoken about that wonderful those steps are really fantastic, and it's very clear to me, the difference between credentials and differentiators and benefits. And that piece around that aspirational piece of solving their problem. For some businesses, it would be my understanding that they have a great idea, but they haven't really understood their audience's thinking. What would you recommend that they do in order to get to put themselves in their audience's shoes?
Yeah, look, very, very good question, Michelle. And there is absolutely nothing that replaces good research. So this is not, so when I say great businesses start with ideas, yes, they do. But of course, you need to test that idea. You need to validate that idea. And that means going and talking to potential customers, potential markets. I mean, as a business coach, Michelle, you would absolutely know that not every great idea becomes a great business, and there is a lot of work between a great idea and a great business. So it's about research. It's about going, if you think you've got your target market, go and talk to them, go and find out, unless it's something you do already know. That Pauline knows sports clubs because she's been in them for years. So you probably had to do less validation, let's say, Pauline. But if you're going into a new area in particularly, absolutely go and talk to the people you think are your target audience. Go and understand, is the problem I think they've got really the problems they think they've got? You might do questionnaires, you might read their industry press and articles, you might go and talk to them directly, you might run webinars and seminars to test that. Before you invest in really sort of developing your message further, you might run sort of small groups like this to test it. There's all sorts of ways you can test your message. But yeah, thank you for raising that, Michelle, because it's a really, really important point. And so much business communication starts with our product and our service. And because that's the bit we know, and we come up with our great idea and we just say, yep, I do this, this, and this, and I'm great at this, this, and this. And we start with that second half. We start with trying to do the convincing, and we haven't done the connection piece, which is the why I'm passionate about what I do. That's great. We all know that. Or hopefully we all know that. But it's the bit about who am I talking to and what are their issues. Nothing replaces research. So make sure you get that right. And that's why there are those 7 foundations to achieve those 3 communication goals: the connect, the convince, the convert, because and that connect piece is really important. So yeah, thank you for raising that, Michelle. The answer is go and find out by talking to them or doing your research. Any other questions? Okay, all right. Well, Gareth, I'm going to give you an extra 6 minutes here, which is great. So look, I would like to introduce Gareth. Now, Gareth and I actually met, gosh, about 6 or 7 years ago. We were both, funnily enough, doing something completely different. And in fact, I'll send you a link later, those of you who haven't seen it, to a blog I wrote about trust, because actually meeting up with Gareth again a few years later reminded me that about trust and how trust endures over changes of job and situation. So when we met, Gareth was taking a break from law and was making corporate videos, and I was in a corporate job and was wanting a corporate video. And Gareth and I connected and got on very well, and then sort of stayed in touch, but reconnected more recently when we realized that we are 2 sides of the same coin. I help people to create IP. Gareth helps them protect it. So Gareth is an IP lawyer. He specializes in all things copyright, trademark, licensing, and he helps businesses to make sure that one of their very most important assets is protected. None of us would go out in a car that wasn't insured or live in a house that wasn't insured, and yet we have these incredibly valuable business assets that are not protected. So Gareth is going to share with us the different forms of protection that we can apply to our business assets, and it gives me great pleasure to hand you over now to Gareth Benton.
Thank you so much, Carol, and what wonderful information there. I couldn't agree with you more about the importance of competent communication, and especially in a digital world. One question I have for you, Carol, having seen you move from Australia to now the UK, but from the head of sales for Toshiba Australia, New Zealand, to where you are now, we actually worked on a communication piece where we really had to discover the why, how important of Toshiba, and now you're helping others find their why. And that's what I love about what you're doing now. How important would you say is the why in identifying value? If I can just start with a question relating to what your topic.
No, thank you, Gareth. The why is really, really important. As I said, it's about connecting emotionally with people. It also really helps us to understand the very core of our business. I saw an absolutely fantastic quote, which was about if you're struggling to find out why, the passion behind your business, think of yourself at age 12. And I did this and I thought, yeah, at 12, I loved languages and I loved communication and helping people communicate with each other. So it's really, really interesting. And look, that obviously applies if you're running a business as an entrepreneur, but it applies in bigger business too. Even a large company has to have a why. What is it trying to help its customers to do? And it is incredibly important. Even in a large company like Toshiba, as you know, in that video, we were describing how the products, these were point of sale products. This is, your fancy cash registers, basically. But we were describing how they helped people that run retail businesses connect better with their customers. So we were describing the why. Now, we did it through a story in that video, but even at a corporate level, it's very, very important to be able to, in fact, I'd say everything starts with it. And I'm sure some of you have seen the fantastic Simon Sinek TED talk about start with why. It's super important, Gareth. And that's why in that diagram I showed you, that chart I showed you, the why is bigger than anything else, and it's bang in the center, because it really is the heart of getting to understand, what our business is all about and who we help, and the very essence of what we do.
Communicating that further. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, if I can all encourage you to actually set up a time with Carol. I know that you've published an ebook and we've distributed that, but if you'd like to discuss with Carol more of how to find your why, or perhaps even craft your communication, then Carol, if I just asked you to put your links into the chat box and do it now. Okay. I was trying to fish them out and I disappeared for a moment, but I'm back here now. Fine. And look,
yeah, I can do
really
that.
Happy now to build a bridge into the world of copyright, from copywriting to copyright. How many of those on the call have come up, for example, who believe that their intellectual property has a value? Could I just have, on a scale of 1 to 10, or perhaps even just a thumbs up, whether you believe it has a value? Well, the reality here, ladies and gentlemen, is that now in a very digital world, that we are actually now converting much of the value that we are creating in our businesses, online or otherwise, is intellectual property. And that's why today I am going to assist you in helping you to understand 5 core components of intellectual property, and how you can actually leverage these ideas like Carol is, on a worldwide scale. In fact, many of the smallest business grew with great dreams. And as Benjamin Franklin says, the future belongs to those who believe in the power of their dreams, because at the end of the day, this is what is valuable intellectual property. So today we're actually going to begin with a tour of intellectual property. And I'm going to actually refer to the handout that was sent to you this morning, just as a reminder. It's a 2-pager. And it's actually designed for you to make notes along the way, so you can actually begin to identify these 5 core components of intellectual property that lie waiting like gold in your business to be leveraged further. And many of these, as we go on this tour, you will be able to imagine very clearly, because they are already things that you have created. And this journey today, ladies and gentlemen, begins with the story of copyright, which is, in other words, the right to copy. So basically, copyright is known as an automatic right. In UK law, in Australian law, it protects the mind or the intellect. And copyright essentially means your right to copy. Everyone would be familiar with the copyright symbol. And this is a symbol you shouldn't hesitate to use, whether you're in the UK or whether you are in Australia, because it actually can help you protect some of your most valuable assets, which are your ideas. Copyright under the Copyright Act 1968 in Australia essentially can protect everything, provides you an automatic expression of your ideas. Now, I've got a bit of a list behind me. I'm testing this new slide scale out here today. Can you read that okay, Carol? Just as you can.
Not maybe. Protects expression.
Okay.
It's
maybe
little tough.
Note
Maybe
yourself,
if I had the speaker view, maybe if you were a bit bigger, maybe I
if
would.
you're on a desktop, you might see it. But there's a couple of tips there. And
I can now. Yes, sorry. Yes, I can now.
Okay. Basically, copyright is an automatic expression. And I just put a list behind me, and I'll just read that list out of what those elements of copyright exist within your business. They are indeed things like your web copy, your communications, but also they go deeper into the heart of your business, and they can be your instruction manuals, they can be your business practices, they can be your strategies, they can even now verge into this new and an unknown world of data. Okay, and I wanted to touch on this today because, quite frankly, it also data and privacy, and the privacy of information is also a copyright. Okay, and we need to be careful as business owners as we go out to business to ensure not only we are protecting our own ideas, our own copyright, but also the copyright of other people. In other words, data. Now, Carol, we worked on something just earlier this year in relation to privacy and the importance of preparing your business to actually be UK or Europe ready to do business. And part of that related to privacy, did it not?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so this GDPR ruling is something that's come out in the UK, and it affects how we all, even here in Australia, have to deal with copyright or the privacy and data of other people. Just a quick question for those on the call. Has anyone on the call got clients in the Europe, or imagine they may have clients in this now globally connected world through Zoom and otherwise, who believes they might have clients in the next 5 years in Europe? Just if anyone on the call could mention that's their intention, or they already have clients, just out of interest.
I already have clients overseas.
Fantastic. Okay, that's great, because this applies to you as well. The GDPR is basically for anyone anywhere in the world that has clients in Europe. And what that ruling is, it's around a number of new rules that are actually going to become a global trend with respect to how we as business owners treat the copyright of other people. And these are known as the GDPR regulations. And the law of copyright intersects with confidential information in this way. I'm just going to pull up actually on the background here another slide that I've created, which is actually about what the privacy rights are about. It's the law of confidential information, and this should be protected not only alongside your website copy, also in your terms and conditions and a privacy policy. But if you've got clients in the UK or in Europe, you need to also have a GDPR statement, because it's about protecting the valuable information that you may be transacting in. And there's a couple of lists behind me here of just important notes about how you actually treat customer information. Basically, privacy is the new copyright. It is involved in the data that you may be collecting on behalf of businesses, but it also could be in what you are sharing of your customers' information. And it is basically about informing your customers about how you deal with this privacy information. And I raise it here today with respect to copyright because, as we see with Carol and Words to Win, she's now got a global business. She's got customers in Australia. She's got customers in Europe, but she also needs to make sure she is abiding by respecting the ideas and even the information now, the informations that people provide to her. This goes for her whether she's writing a grant or whether she's distributing a newsletter. So just in summary, in this second intellectual property right, I'm just noting for everyone on the call that they should definitely have some sort of a privacy policy and or a GDPR statement. The privacy policy is embodied actually in our Australian laws. In 1988, the Privacy Act actually regulates that we need to have a policy in place and available publicly, i.e. on your website, so you can actually tell your customers how you are dealing with their copyright, with their information. Does that make sense? I hope so. And happy to answer other questions as we go. Let's move now on to one of the more obvious intellectual property rights. And this is the trademark right, or the right to trademarks. Okay? This is actually one of the most visible forms of intellectual property. And I have no doubt that everyone on the call has a valuable brand that is worthy of their protection. I was speaking to Michelle just in recent weeks about the importance of protecting Businify, an excellent brand name which relates to her accounting practice. Michelle has actually gone to that effort of actually protecting her brand, and now has the valuable benefit of a 10-year protection of this name in the marketplace. And this is just one example of the valuable benefit that she will have. She's got the ability to protect her name, her brand, and indeed, the use of her domains in the marketplace. And that all is about going through the effort of having a trademark in place. One gentleman who happens to be English, and he's at the bottom of my slide, you may be able to just see the top of his head. He's an Englishman, and his name is Mr. Richard Branson. And many of you would know that that Sir Richard Branson actually went to the effort of actually protecting and leveraging his brand many, many decades ago. In fact, he has consistently leveraged the power of the Virgin trademark. And in Australia alone, he has 138 different registrations of that one brand name in almost all of the 45 categories of subclasses of services, i.e. Virgin Aeroplanes, Virgin Airs, should I say, Virgin Cola, Virgin Music. So Richard Branson is someone that has used the valuable of his trademark to actually protect that and also leverage it into new marketplace. And this is the incredible power of trademarks. And one of the things that I would highly recommend for everyone on the call, it's an offer that I'm really happy to extend as friends of Carol and also colleagues in the entrepreneurship game, is that I'm really happy to do complimentary trademark searches of people's brands. And I'm going to put my details in the chat box shortly, because if you make a basically time with me, I will spend some time with you researching to see that you can actually protect your valuable brand and how available that name is for you to protect. But I highly recommend that everybody do at least some consideration of this, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't drive your car without a license. So why would you be driving your business without protecting your most visible asset, which is your brand? So that's the third part of intellectual property that I want to cover today. The next one actually relates to it, and it actually is about the important value creation exercises that can take place. Now, Richard Branson, as pictured there, you can just see the number of different brands that he has leveraged his intellectual property or his intellectual capital over the last 4 or so decades. He's done it through the power of trademarks, but importantly, he's leveraged so much more. He's leveraged his know-how, his secret formulas, in terms of how to get businesses and make business fun. For example, as one of his strategies with respect to, say, airlines. But he also knows how business works and how to leverage his own intellectual property. The point I want to make here is that licensing, the right to license your intellectual property, is the end game. Another on the call, he might have had to duck out a little bit early, but Mr. Warren from Find Group, he's a financial planner, and he began his business over 22 years ago. He's now leveraged the Find logo and Find Financial Planning and actually developed a licensing system. And now he licensed to other accountants the ability to actually become a Find Financial Planner. He owns the web infrastructure and the software to actually, and also the real estate online to actually allow others to become a Find Financial Planner. But he also provides training and education in financial planning to buy into his system and become a Find Financial Planner. He owns about 11 trademarks or variations of those trademarks, by the way. So at the end of the day, he's selling his brand, he's selling his know-how, and he's allowing others to actually become a very important person with respect, with becoming a competent professional as a financial planner. He is an example of someone that has leveraged their intellectual property locally in Australia for great worth. Other great examples of people that have followed this is Mark Boros and Yellow Brick Road, Janine Ellis with Boost Juice. Both these individuals have actually explored the power of franchising. Now, on our worksheet, you'll see that this is an incredible opportunity to actually leverage your intellectual property in a new way. It is a franchise. A franchise is a licensing system, and it actually exists by way of allowing others to buy or license their intellectual property from you. And one other example, common to the UK and Australia, is that it's even in broadcasting. Many would recall, for better or worse, Big Brother, or one personal broadcast television franchise that I worked on while at SBS Television a few years ago was actually Top Gear, which actually was homegrown in the UK, but then leveraged here to Australia, where at SBS Television, we negotiated the rights to actually run the Australian version of this system. It involved a brand, Top Gear. It involved rules and a format, a television format. And all these were very important and valuable intellectual property that SBS Television here in Australia paid a premium for to run their own version. And so it crosses different industry sectors, whether you're a mortgage broker, a finance broker, whether you're in a television film producer, or even in juice, like Janine Ellis was. Basically, at the end of the day, intellectual property is leveraging your intellectual capital for your own commercial, for others' commercial use. And it begins with protection, it moves to valuation, and at the end of the day, it's about licensing. So you can, as Mr. Richard Branson there, can actually leverage into new businesses and new industries with such a powerful brand. So I hope that takes you through a tour of some of the most important rights with respect to intellectual property. There is a worksheet there, and there is certainly, I've covered all those 5 areas, I think, in a little bit of detail. But I do welcome any questions from anyone on the call with respect to their intellectual property, and any questions, as curly as they can be, around the importance and difference between copyright, trademarks, privacy, and licensing. Any of those areas, happy to chat further about. And at the end of the day, I encourage you all that you wouldn't jump out of a plane without a parachute. So please do not jump through the rest of your time in business without protecting your most visible and valuable assets, which are your ideas. Thank you very much. So just wondering if there's any questions, or otherwise I encourage you all to set up a time with either you, Carol, or myself. We're really happy to go into further detail. Any questions from the floor?
Gareth, I've got a quick question regarding the name. Now, I've put in Icon Images many years ago. We sort of kind of started the process of registering the trademark, and I've noticed there's like 44 other people that have something similar, one of them being Coca-Cola, but none of them in terms of photography. So it's been used many other times for many different reasons. Sort of how likely is it that I get it? Do I have lots of competition?
Okay, it's great. I love working with live examples, Con, because this is perfect. Just for all of those who are on the call, Con is based in Melbourne. He's an entrepreneur, a personal branding specialist and content creator, specifically for entrepreneurs. Yep. And he has for several years been building a very strong brand in Melbourne and the Australian marketplace called Icon Images. Now, under the Trademarks Act 1995, anyone is empowered to actually protect their trademark so long as it is registered with IP Australia. to ensure that it can be protected, to distinguish itself from all others in the marketplace. So Con has the opportunity, he's taken the initiative to actually register his logo, which is a combination of his name and also that iconic image you see behind him. So what I would, Con, what you actually did is you put in the trademark application, and you've seen that there's a number of competitors. Just for everyone on the call, it's a 7.5 month process from the beginning of registration and lodging an application through to actually gaining a trademark certificate. Now, one of the problems that you've encountered at Con is that there is a number of other entrants. There's a number of other people that are using the words Con, right?
No, Icon Images.
Or Icon. Oh, sorry? Icon Images. So I-C-O-N or
K-O-N.
IKON.
Okay, Icon. Okay. So under that rule that I just mentioned at the Trademarks Act is that just because the first person that actually is on the register in your category, in your business category, so for kind of would be marketing services, would normally have the priority date. And that's why you should be protecting your brand sooner rather than later. So to answer your question, Con, you probably came up against some difficulties because a trademark examiner would have said there's quite a few other people using this name, and therefore you need to prove a prior use. Was it something like that?
Well, it looks like we did start. By the way, it's Costa. By the way, it's I changed it from the Costa. English name to back to my Greek name.
After sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, look, we registered, I think it's 2011 or something. We've got the old logo there. It sort of says we started but didn't continue. So it's got some sort of comments that we started but didn't continue. And we started with someone else. They're going to charge $1,000 or something, and then we didn't sort of pursue for some reason. But sort of left it there. Yeah.
Well, look, it is going to be a difficult one to obtain, but there are some tricks and tips that I can suggest to get over it, because there's a number of trademark cases. I won't go and bore you all with all of them, but one very famous one is in the Ugg boot case, which was about the proprietors who actually built that brand. But basically it was seen to be in the common vernacular, and they weren't able to protect that particular name. You're in a competitive category. I mean, Icon is going to be a very competitive name to secure as a trademark. However, if you can create a distinctive name, include a tagline, it may be possible, Costa, to actually get that through. And I've done that on behalf of clients before. So Icon Images, we build your best personal brand ever, as a combination of elements, as a trademark registration, may be enough to get through. It may be. But this is why it does serve to consult. It's why I also offer my time upfront to kind of offer this kind of advice, because at the end of the day, your brand has an extreme value, and it's worthy of your protection. So that's one tip I could give you, Costa, is to actually combine it with a tagline in order to, under the Trademarks Act, Section 120, distinguish yourself to all others on the register. Okay. Now, IP Australia does have some good background resources on this too. They're at ipaustralia.gov.au, but it is difficult, and it is worthy of consulting with a legal professional in these areas before you begin the process for these kind of reasons. But I'm happy to have another chat offline, Costa, about strategies to get that very important brand through.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on IP, intellectual property?
Gareth, Paul Woods here.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, I'm unclear as to how much originality there must be in order for a copyright to take effect. If I was to say to produce training materials, I consult and coach in manufacturing businesses. Honestly, there's really nothing new in the world. It's just how it's packaged together.
It's a good point there when you say those words packaged together, because generally speaking, copyright will protect the expression of ideas, not the ideas themselves. You're not the only consultant in the world, but it's your unique expression and packaging of those ideas which makes you unique. And I'm just going to actually give you the answer in this first moment because I don't want to confuse it too much. I try and give clarity wherever I can, especially in these confusing areas. But this is the importance of licensing, right? And I'm going to say to you directly that it's not going to be in the protection of the copyright, but it's actually in the licensing of the copyright. And in an area like consulting or education, it's about licensing your intellectual property and protecting it in a contract with your clients. And that's how you more effectively protect consulting or educational practice bases. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. And then what about instruction manuals? I've been involved, and they're all a variation of the same thing. And
yeah, good. Okay, good question too. Look, it will go. It's the same answer though. An instruction manual, unless you're building a franchise, is going to have more power to you in having the licensing. Licensing those manuals to go. Say it was software. I'm not sure what your business is in, but apart from consulting, but say you provided software as a service. So you did consulting along with you built the software product. You would license the software program as a license, but you'd also include potentially in your framework, the manuals as well. Okay, it would be in the license to make it really kind of clear. And I actually believe that the challenge is for anyone on the call who are building any consulting or idea-based practice, whether you're a words to win consultant and you're a copywriter, or if you're an action coach, all right? There's one Australian that's in your area. I'm not sure if you're coaching, but consulting and coaching generally fall into a similar kind of area. Now, this is one tip to have a look at. Bradley Sugars, he's an Australian guy, and he's now based in LA. He's written several books, and he's known as one of the preeminent coaches or business consultants in the world. But what he's actually developed is a very sophisticated licensing system out of action coaching, where he's taken everything he knows, he's written the books, he's written the manuals, and then he's leveraged that. And now if you want to become an action coach, he actually has individuals selling territories to become a consultant in his methodology. Okay, so that just kind of takes this question to the highest point of where IP can take it in your area. And I encourage you to have a look at what he's done, because I've worked on a couple of deals where he's been on the other side, and I've been impressed at the sophistication of how he has licensed his copyright. And that goes back to the original question, I hope.
That's great. Thanks.
No problems. We probably have a chance for one or two more.
Michelle's got a question there.
Oh, excellent.
Great presentation, Gareth, and very you've made it very clear, I think, in that distinction between those different areas, which is terrific. Thank you. I just wanted to ask, in terms of when we're thinking about trademarking and registering your brand, registering that trademark. If you're operating in different jurisdictions, you actually have to do it in each jurisdiction still, or was it because there was talk of trying to pull together some sort of international?
Okay. No, it's really important, because this is going to become more and more important for all of us who are now, through a COVID world, and now have clients. I know I've got clients in 3 different states, and now Norway and London. So I'm kind of like really big on this, okay? Because you need to have a global strategy around your IP. And it does begin with trademarks, because trademarks are about protecting your brand. Now, like most things, you protect your own backyard first. So in terms of an international strategy around trademark protection, you want to make sure you have the trademark in Australia. And I can tell you why that's a good idea, because Australia, along with 115 other countries, are signatory to a treaty called the Madrid Protocol, which is administered out of Geneva, and it's by the World Intellectual Property Organization. So thankfully, if you register your trademark in Australia, you can then, at the right time, leverage it to any one of those 115 different countries, which includes the US, the UK, EU is one registration and gets you 16 countries. Not a bad one to grab if you've got clients in the EU. And you build your strategy from there. So in short, the answer to your question is look after your own backyard first, protect it in Australia, and then look to leverage it through the Madrid Protocol to the different countries that you think you will be exploring. Just so you know also, it's a 10-year registration in Australia. So you have all of 10 years to leverage it internationally. And just a little tip there, though, if you do have international clients already and you register here in Australia, you can, within 6 months, make that European registration or the international registration and gain the same priority date. And that is going to be key for you proving with competitors or otherwise to ensure that you were the first to have the name. It will protect your domain. It'll protect your marketing, your website, the words that Carol can win for you and help you with your web copy. All those things are going to be also protected if they sit underneath your trademark. So I highly recommend trademark registration as a tool. And again, Michelle, I'm happy if you'd like to click on the Calendly link or just send me an email. We can spend some time and I'll actually do some complimentary searches for you to actually know where your name sits in the marketplace.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All good. No, great questions. Thank you so much. And appreciate the feedback too, because I am trying to simplify things in a very complicated world and area like IP.
And look, I can say from personal experience that I really recommend Gareth's services. He does he makes sure you understand the process. He makes it as simple as possible, and he explains, what you've got to do, and what you can do now, and what you the way to go about it.
Yeah, no.
I do recommend you certainly start off by having a consultation with him to look at it further. So. He makes the legal stuff very easy to understand.
Well, yes. Look, I think it should be about clear and competent communication, right, Carol?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, look, I know Gareth has to dash off literally in 1 minute. I'm available to stay on and keep the call open if anyone has any further questions. But if not, thank you all so much for your time and for giving up your was it Wednesday evening for you there in Australia. So look, thank you for joining us. I hope you found that useful. Please do, as I say, I do encourage you, book some time with me if you've got communication stuff you'd like to discuss further. Book some time with Gareth if you want to discuss IP further. Are there any further questions? So I know, Gareth, you have to drop off.
Yeah, I might leave it there and just say thank you, Carol. It's been great. Just because I have to duck to a call in Norway, my practice is European now. Thanks also to you. So look, a pleasure to connect with you all, and please do feel free to fill out the worksheet. And I'm happy to spend the 45 minutes, an hour with anyone that have got further questions. Thank you all from me. Good night.
Thank you. Okay, has anyone got any further questions? Just before we close off? No, excellent. All right, look, thank you all so much for joining, and I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks,
Thank
Carol.
you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.